And do you feel any sadness about how it's played out?
There are all sorts of issues and circumstances there, but we've all had that same spotlight shone on our lives.
The Queen's youngest son barely gets any attention. Is it because King Charles and his brothers are often in the middle of controversy? And in case you were unaware, there is a Prince Edward who has successfully avoided the spotlight. He's been uncharacteristically quiet, avoiding the media and public outcry. What do you know about his personal life then? Why doesn't he appear in the tabloids very often? Let's investigate his life and figure out the reason behind it. The youngest son of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Edward was born in London, England on March 10, 1964. Not only did he increase the lineage of the Windsor family, but his presence also represented a significant advancement for the monarchy. There was a 16-year age difference between Prince Charles and Edward. Therefore, Edward represented a new generation within the royal family, one that would carry the tradition torch into the future. Edward Anthony Richard Louis was formally welcomed to the public and solidified his status inside the royal circle during his baptism a few months later. There was something really unique about Edward's birth. It wasn't only his familial position that made it noteworthy. When compared to the arrivals of his brothers, what set it apart? You know, the Queen was a traditionalist at heart if you knew anything about her. But she shocked everyone by violating a major tradition during Edward's birth. She broke royal protocol by inviting Prince Philip to join her in the delivery room. A new era for the monarchy was heralded by this historic judgment. The Queen demonstrated her willingness to consider new perspectives on parenting and family by inviting Philip to attend. Growing conversations in women's magazines at the time, which highlighted the advantages of dads being more involved in birthing, impacted her at 37 years of age, when she was already a mother of 3. My Husband and I, the inside story of 70 years of royal marriage, written by Ingrid Seward, provides some insight into the Queen's historic choice to have Prince Philip present during the birth of Edward. Her determination to update elements of royal life while honoring its long-standing traditions was on full display in her desire for dads to have a more active role in birthing. The birth of Prince Edward was more than simply a happy occasion for the royal family. It was a watershed point in 20th century societal attitudes around fatherhood and the role of the family. As a young prince juggling royal responsibilities with his own passions and aspirations, Edward experienced a mix of tradition and modernity in his upbringing. His upbringing was far from ordinary. While other kids got to enjoy the typical childhood activities like going to see Santa or playing with their neighbors, Edward had incredible opportunities and experiences that most people can only dream about. He met his hero, the famed astronaut Neil Armstrong, who had been on the moon first when he was just 5 years old. The palace arranged for this unusual meeting so that young Edward could speak with Armstrong, who had been a major influence on him, about his ambitions to travel to space. He was inspired to follow in Armstrong's pioneering footsteps after meeting his hero, who made an indelible impression on him. Prince Edward's life has been a remarkable journey from the very beginning. At the tender age of 3 months, he joined his family in a long-standing royal tradition, making his debut on the balcony of Buckingham Palace, and immediately became a public figure. Edward, whose parents were very proud of him, started riding horses when he was 2 years old on his favorite pony, Valkyrie, as part of his immersion in royal life. His early experiences with horses not only sparked an early interest in animals, but also laid the groundwork for a lifelong passion for riding. The relationship between Prince Edward and his father was one of deep affection and trust, characterized by many happy times spent together. Edward paid tribute to Prince Philip by discussing the profound impact his father had on him, and by complimenting Philip on his extraordinary charisma and the way he left an indelible effect on everyone he encountered. By posting a tribute to Philip on the royal family's Instagram, Edward paid tribute to his life and the bond they had via common passions and experiences. Looking back on their time together, he was thankful for the teachings and memories that have shaped his life. Philip was beloved by many because of his acute intellect and contagious sense of humor, which Edward remembered with fondness in an interview with ITV News. The deep bond and mutual support between his parents was another important aspect of Edward's upbringing, and he praised them for it. Remembering his father, Prince Philip, and the unwavering love, wisdom, and support he provided, helped Prince Edward get over the grief of losing his father. Edward believes that his father's exemplary traits as a loving parent, dedicated spouse, and royal consort will be passed down through the ages. As the years of Queen Elizabeth's reign went on, the shifting relationships within the royal family were highlighted by the large age difference between Edward and King Charles, an intriguing but sometimes disregarded feature. There is a lot more to learn about Edward's life if everything you've seen so far has been in articles or on Netflix. At Buckingham Palace, Prince Edward started his formal education with a private teacher in an atmosphere adapted to his unusual background. This preparatory schooling gave him a leg up in preparation for his royal duties. At a later date, he enrolled in the prestigious pre-preparatory program at Gibbs School in Kensington, where he immersed himself in a curriculum tailored to the needs of future monarchs. The groundwork for Edward's academic career was built here. Heatherdown Preparatory School, located in the peaceful countryside, was the next stop on his scholastic path. There, he discovered an ideal balance between academics and personal development. Edward made lifelong friends, honed his intellect, and found his niche in extracurricular activities at Heatherdown. These events, which combined the advantages of his royal status with those of a privileged education, proved fundamental to his development. While Prince Edward was an adolescent, he was most formative at Gordonstoun School, which is located in the middle of Scotland's rugged landscapes. Gordonstoun was an exceptional setting for Edward's development because of its reputation for outdoor education and character development. He developed a strong sense of self-discipline and leadership via the school's rigorous coursework, exercise programs, and outdoor excursions. Edward became head boy, a position that brought out his leadership and character, after he sunk his teeth into the school's academics and extracurriculars, inquiring as to whether he maintained interest in his hobbies and athletic pursuits. We will discover. In the months after his A-levels, Edward made the unforgettable trip to Wanganui, New Zealand, to attend the collegiate school for 6 months. This journey was a watershed moment because it allowed him to see things from fresh angles, get practical experience, and fully immerse himself in a new culture. Edward was fully immersed in the local culture, even going so far as to instruct and oversee acting classes despite his royal status. Back in the UK, he got into Jesus College, Cambridge, where he proved himself resilient and inquisitive despite the royal family's high expectations. Edward departed with a degree in 1986 that demonstrated his academic prowess and his determination to explore new ideas, reflecting his devotion to his studies and his own personal development. Prince Edward chose to forge his own path, away from the conventional royal route and the pursuit of a prominent profession. He joined the Royal Marines as a university cadet, an unforeseen decision driven by his passion for the arts and a desire to develop his creative side. The rigorous requirements of military service caused him to quickly recognize that he was not suited for the life he had imagined for himself. After giving it some thought, he decided to shift his attention to the entertainment sector. Given the royal traditions his family upheld, it was an unexpected change. Edward, in contrast to his more conventionally minded elder brothers, felt a strong pull toward the stage and the excitement of performing in front of an audience. No one could have predicted that he would major in the arts. His choices distinguished him from his siblings, even though they didn't create as much of a stir. There was probably friction in the royal family, especially between Prince Philip and Edward, after the latter made the daring and unexpected decision to leave the Royal Marines. Nonetheless, Edward dove headfirst into his newfound hobby. Along this new road, he collaborated with the legendary Andrew Lloyd Webber, a composer and theatrical mogul. By working as a production assistant for Webber's company, Edward gained practical expertise in the world of musical theater. Beginning with the fundamentals of the industry, he demonstrated humility and commitment by immersing himself in every aspect of the process. People looked up to him because he was so serious about his work and so eager to learn. He was clearly more than simply a royal. He was a true apprentice. Working with Andrew Lloyd Webber, which included their creations for Queen Elizabeth's birthday festivities, was a turning point in Prince Edward's life, when he was expressing both his creative side and his desire to break away from royal convention. He was encouraged to pursue his artistic dreams and forge his own way by this cooperation. Edward really had a television production firm, which a lot of people might not know about. Those who were unaware of Edward's forays beyond the realm of royalty may have been surprised to learn that after serving in the Royal Marines, he sought out fresh creative chances by joining the theatrical division. His tenure was tragically cut short when the firm collapsed under the crushing burden of unmanageable debt, a sobering reminder of how unpredictable the entertainment industry can be. Edward, unfazed by failure, pursued his dreams of being a successful producer and broadcaster by jumping at another opportunity. He tried his hand at developing a reality game show in 1987, which featured members of the royal family and foreign celebrities. Edward characterized the event as the most incredible day of his life, despite the project's controversy and criticism. This suggests that his passion for narrative and desire to investigate his family's past are driving his growing interest in television production. Edward established Ardent Productions, a separate entity whose primary goal was to produce engaging television shows. In order to build credibility in the field, he purposefully separated himself from his royal status by choosing to go by the name Edward Windsor in professional circles. His decision laid the groundwork for an original and imaginative career, demonstrating his determination to become famous for more than just his royal lineage. While Prince Edward's intentions were good, he hoped to shed new light on his family's history. The extremely competitive television industry presented Ardent Productions with obstacles, and the most notable of these was Edward on Edward, a documentary examining the contentious life and abdication of his uncle, Edward VIII. It was a melancholy ending to Edward's foray into media creation, as the firm struggled to find a stable foothold due to industry distrust and minimal success. After 9 years, it folded. In 2002, Prince Edward sincerely decided to return to his royal duties by stepping away from the entertainment world. He told The Independent that he felt a newfound sense of responsibility and wanted to show his support for Queen Elizabeth as he made the choice in response to the growing expectations imposed on the royal family. They both quit their positions as executive directors at RJH Public Relations, as his wife Sophie, Countess of Wessex, did, indicating their dedication to royal responsibilities. In order to make this transfer easier, Queen Elizabeth allegedly gave them $250,000 to cover their losses, showing her appreciation for their devotion to the monarchy. As a result of Ardent Productions' financial woes, Prince Edward decided to leave the entertainment industry. He redirected his attention to royal responsibilities and charitable work after reading about the company's massive losses in The Guardian and The Telegraph. At this crossroads, Edward decided to follow in his family's footsteps by serving his community, honoring their legacy and principles. As an interested member of the royal family, Prince Edward is always working on projects that will have a positive effect on the world. He is well known for his work with the Duke of Edinburgh's Award, an initiative that helps young people acquire valuable skills for adulthood. In addition, he is in charge of the Earl and Countess of Wessex's Trust, which is a fund that gives money to organizations that help young people. In addition to his official royal duties, Prince Edward is very involved in a number of charitable organizations, arts programs, and sporting events. He utilizes his position to speak up for causes he believes in and to help improve communities throughout the world. Sophie, Countess of Wessex, and Prince Edward have an eternal bond defined by fated encounters, common interests, and deep admiration for one another. At a tennis tournament Prince Edward had planned, they first met, and it was as if they were characters from a contemporary fairy tale. Their love grew over the course of 6 magical years as they embarked on exciting excursions together and enjoyed tender moments, eventually strengthening their bond away from the limelight. A solid basis of trust, understanding, and unfaltering support was laid by Prince Edward and Sophie as they nurtured their relationship. The public was filled with delight and excitement when they announced their engagement in January 1999. In a statement brimming with royal tradition and profound passion, Buckingham Palace announced the impending marriage of Prince Edward and Miss Sophie Rhys-Jones. This was the first page of a love-filled, commitment-filled new chapter in their life. Prince Edward did not think twice about choosing a magnificent diamond ring made by the esteemed jeweler Gerard & Company as a symbol of his love when the time came for him to pop the question. A 2-carat oval diamond and 2 beautiful heart-shaped stones set in an excellent ring captured the romance and classic beauty of their love story to a T. Not only did this ring symbolize their dedication, but it also became an enduring emblem of their deep bond. Royal couple Prince Edward and Sophie Rhys-Jones tied the knot on a picture-perfect summer day in 1999, only 6 months after they announced their engagement. In the midst of recent difficulties, the royal family was brought together in joy during their wedding, which beautifully combined traditional elements with personal touches. As they exchanged vows surrounded by royal tradition and affection, the picturesque St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle's medieval gardens provided the ideal setting. Although Prince Edward and Sophie had planned for the wedding to be an intimate family celebration, the spectacle drew an estimated 200 million spectators who were anxious to see the happy couple's fates intertwine. By becoming members of the royal family, Sophie and the Queen became close friends with Queen Elizabeth II. On her wedding day, the gracious matriarch gave her new daughter-in-law a beautiful tiara from her personal jewelry collection, a magnificent royal jewel befitting a princess, made by the renowned former crown jeweler David Thomas. A perfect synthesis of classic beauty and contemporary style, the tiara glistened with exquisite stones. Sophie sent Prince Edward a precious gift, an 18-carat gold pocket watch, to represent her undying love and devotion. Relationships inside the royal family are often difficult to discuss, but Sophie is an exception to the rule. Her status as a confidant and close connection with the Queen of England demonstrate the true bond they have developed over the years. She is often considered the Queen's favorite. Based on information gathered from a royal advisor and cited by the Daily Mail, Sophie is said to have a special relationship with the Queen that sets her apart from other members of the royal family. According to the Daily Mail, Sophie and Her Majesty have a valued connection marked by mutual respect, understanding, and camaraderie, and Sophie is almost like a second daughter to her. Their bond is so deep that Sophie is sometimes called the Second Lady of the Land, a moniker that emphasizes how important their relationship is. The accession of notable personalities such as Camilla Parker Bowles and Kate Middleton has caused considerable shifts in the royal hierarchy throughout the years. Regardless, Queen Elizabeth continues to hold the Countess of Wessex in the highest esteem. Their connection remains strong, even if her position has changed. According to the Daily Mail, their bond may have only strengthened over the years. The Queen's contacts with Sophie are described by palace sources as friendly, familiar, and characterized by shared experiences, similar to her connections with her late sister, Princess Margaret. Consequently, Sophie has become the Queen's valued confidant, adored friend, and ally, providing her with support and company in both formal and informal contexts. The title that Prince Edward has is shrouded in intrigue, a fact that the royal family has chosen to keep secret. He chose a title that broke with royal convention when he wed Sophie Rhys-Jones, which piqued the interest of royal observers and led to lively debate. The esteemed title of Duke is usually bestowed upon royal grooms, but Prince Edward was instead christened the Earl of Wessex. Many are curious about the reasoning behind this change from the norm and the consequences of this unconventional decision. Despite appearances, There is a strict order to the British royal family's titles that reflects their history and pedigree. His Royal Highness is the standard form of salutation for a son of the current king, followed by his first name. After marriage, the son will usually obtain an extra title, most often Duke. Some have wondered why Prince Edward would deviate so far from the usual and been left perplexed by his appointment as Earl of Wessex. But this was no relegation. Rather, it was a reflection of Prince Edward's individuality and the significance he placed on things. His admiration for the charismatic Earl of Wessex stemmed from his favorite film, Shakespeare in Love. The title of Earl of Wessex was a perfect fit for Prince Edward, who wanted to pay homage to his cinematic influences and embrace a title that reflected his personality and passions. Some may have wondered what this unusual decision meant, but in the end, it was more of a personal connection than a departure from the norm. It seemed more like Prince Edward's own tastes than any perceived affront from the Queen or the royal family was behind his choice. The title of Earl of Wessex has become a symbol of his independence and his ambition to establish his own identity within the realm of royalty. With the demise of Prince Philip and the attendant changes in the royal family's dynamic, this title naturally became a topic of interest and conjecture. Since Prince Charles is the heir apparent to the throne, many have wondered what would happen to the title of Duke of Edinburgh and whether Prince Edward will also receive it. Even though he isn't the rightful heir, Prince Edward is frequently thought of as the beloved child by his parents. Particularly in a royal family, discussions about parental partiality may be touchy. Even while parents insist they don't have any preferences, the dynamics inside their families are frequently revealed through subtle clues and insights from others close to them. The interesting rumors surrounding Prince Edward's father, Prince Philip, and allegations of favoritism provide fascinating insights into the inner workings of the royal family. The painting of Prince Edward, which is prominently displayed in his father's study, is thought to have been a particular place in Prince Philip's heart, according to reports. This seemingly insignificant act conveys a great deal about the closeness and love that Prince Philip felt for his youngest son, suggesting a connection that goes beyond the usual familial bonds. Prince Philip appears to be rooting for Prince Edward and his wife Sophie to assume more prominent positions within the royal family, which lends credence to the notion that Prince Edward is special. This endorsement not only shows how close they are as a family, but it also shows how much faith Prince Philip had in his son and daughter-in-law to make important royal contributions. It is said that Prince Philip showed his faith in Prince Edward and Sophie's competence and decision-making capabilities by entrusting them with his royal responsibilities when he started to withdraw from public engagements. Thanks to their charming personalities, unwavering devotion, and regal duties, the pair has won over the hearts of the people. There's a lot more to like and respect about these two. They've distinguished themselves from their more showy contemporaries by virtues like modesty, reliability, and poise under pressure. Royal watchers from all around the globe admire and revere them for these qualities. A source close to the royal family said that the public has taken to Prince Edward and Sophie due to their genuineness, humility, and devotion to duty. Their steadfast commitment to their responsibilities as members of the royal family has won over their peers and the public in an era frequently overshadowed by controversies involving the royal family. Despite the public and familial support that Prince Edward receives, it is crucial to acknowledge that this same support has exacerbated his profound grief at the death of his father, Prince Philip. The shock of the loss, he said, made it hard for him to deal. He was quite open with the media in the days after the tragedy, explaining his deep sorrow and shock at his father's unexpected death. Prince Edward expressed the family's grief just 2 days after Prince Philip passed away, a sentiment that many people across the world could relate to as they continued to process the immense loss. The lesser-known tale of Prince Edward's marriage is about to take an unexpected turn in his life. The battle with infertility has been a major part of Prince Edward and Sophie's journey. After struggling to conceive naturally, the couple decided to look into in vitro fertilization as a possible option for starting a kid. Sophie fell pregnant in late 2001, but they were devastated to learn that it was an ectopic pregnancy, which ended their dreams. Their friendship was strengthened as they faced the emotional challenges of their journey together, and their commitment was challenged by this experience. Prince Edward and Sophie showed outstanding endurance in the face of the tragedy that befell them. They found strength in their love for one another and in their unshakable conviction that they would one day become parents. In 2003, their perseverance paid off when Sophie became pregnant again, and their first child, Lady Louise Windsor, was born into the world to their pleasure. Unfortunately, Sophie had issues throughout her pregnancy, which led to her baby being born prematurely, dampening their joy at their expanding family. A placental abruption, a dangerous ailment that endangered Sophie and her unborn child, defined this difficult period. Throughout this crucial time, Sophie's bravery and resilience were challenged, but Prince Edward never wavered in his support. In the end, the mother and kid made it through the ordeal unscathed, even stronger than before. The early hardships they endured pushed them to their limits, but they also strengthened their connection and gave them a profound respect for the wonder of life. However, their ordeal was far from done, as Lady Louise would later face her own health issues. Her parents were filled with worry and uncertainty when, just 3 years after her birth, she was hospitalized due to a congenital eye condition. They were anxious with every hospital visit as they attempted to make sense of her diagnosis and her condition. They walked through the unknowns of her future with a mix of optimism and concern at each session. Despite the hardship, they became closer as a family because of it. They strengthened their resolve by uniting around Lady Louise and pouring love and support on her. The trials they endured as a group demonstrated their solidarity and taught them the need of empathy and tolerance in trying times. Their dedication to one another and the depth of their family ties were both highlighted by the hardships they endured together. The birth of their son James in 2007 brought much-needed pleasure and relief to Prince Edward and Sophie's life after they had endured earlier difficulties. James breathed fresh life into the family, bringing joy and sibling love into their household. He was born into a strong and resilient aristocratic family, and with that title came the honor of Viscount Severn. Growing up, James exemplified the tenacity that his family had come to appreciate, and he became an inspiration to his sister. Lady Louise and James's close relationship, together with the love and support of their parents, helped them overcome the obstacles they faced in life. With each new chapter, the story of their family's love, bravery, and perseverance was further illuminated, as was their journey through life's ups and downs. When we consider Prince Edward's life story in light of the demands of his royal responsibilities and the difficulties of family life, we see a man who has grown as a person. His character is revealed in his capacity to keep a close-knit family together despite the criticism that comes with being a prince. Edward's decisions as king and father show that he wants to find his own way within the royal family without sacrificing his commitment to the people he loves. Their tale is both realistic and inspiring because of the severe hardships they endured as a unit and how they overcame them. Their ability to stay true to themselves in the face of constant scrutiny and the public's perception of their changing roles within the royal family is inspiring. Keep an eye out for more fascinating royal news by subscribing and leaving a comment below if you have any views or insights regarding Prince Edward and his family's journey.